Murdaugh mythos. And but before we do that, I want to go to midnight on July 24th, 1940, almost 80 years ago, to the train wreck that started it all. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. By July 24th, 1940, more than 80 years ago, right? And we get a lot of this information via Greenville Online. I'll put a link to that in the description. A really good article. And it actually takes us slightly further back than that. The year before the death of Randolph Murdaugh, the whole patriarch to this whole dynasty, right? And you're going to really be shocked at the parallels, how history seems to repeat itself in this family. You may need to kick yourself and remind yourself that we're dealing with 1939 and not 2021, because you had a situation where an old man was suffering from health problems. He had been for about a year, since 1939. And the local paper, The Guardian, reported on a couple of occasions that he had just been released from hospital, right, in April, right? And then a couple of months later, they sort of wondered whether his health was a factor in this accident, right? And then there was also questions about, was it an accident? So according to Greenville Online, quote, locals and historians have also wondered and speculated without direct evidence if alcohol was involved in this crash. Now it's like, wow, what are we talking about? Are we talking about the boat incident? No, we're talking about a train incident, someone who was driving. And historical records, according to Greenville Online, and newspaper accounts gave no firm clue if that was the case. And so you kind of got to wonder, well, if alcohol wasn't obviously the case in the patriarch's death, then what are we talking about? Did he make a mistake driving? Did he kind of tune out for a moment? And then there is actually a hint that he took his own life deliberately, right? And the article says there's no probable cause to that supposition, but it is nevertheless part of the mythos of his death that is a possibility. And then you have that idea, right, that something is made to look a certain way, and then it looks like an accident, and then someone is liable for that. And then you have the same thing seemingly repeating itself later on in the family history with Alex Murdaugh, where there's this appearance that he's also wanting to take his own life. But appearances, as we see with this family, can be deceiving. Now, going back to the article, it says, quote, the Hampton County coroner's jury simply ruled the death an accident. The public would likely never know the exact contributing cause of this collision. So it was a collision between a train and Randolph Murdaugh's vehicle. And we're going to deal with the exact circumstances in a moment. But the aftermath of this incident that cost him his life was that the Murdaugh family suspected that that there was foul play from the train's perspective. In other words, that the train was at fault, right? And if you think about it in a very basic way, you are driving, you end up on the train tracks, you can go anywhere. You can go forwards, backwards, left, right, fast, slow, anyway. The train can only go on the track that it's on, and it can only slow down, and it doesn't know that you're going to stop on the track. And so then you say, no, the train is to blame because I stopped my car on the tracks when the train went over. And then you say, how on earth do you figure that? But that is exactly what happened here. So according to the article, quote, within a week of the fatal 1940 train crash, the 14th Circuit had a new solicitor, Randolph Buster Murdaugh Jr. So you kind of have the situation where his father, right, Randolph Murdaugh, dies in this train crash. And then what happens? His son basically takes over the case and sues the train company, and that really sets up the family legacy going forward. And as we know, this individual was not very well to begin with. And so the article refers to Randolph Buster Murdaugh, that's Randolph Jr., taking legal revenge for his father's death. And this Randolph Murdaugh would then become the father to Randolph Murdaugh III, which was Alex Murdaugh's father, right? So there are actually three Randolphs. There's Randolph Murdaugh Sr. He was the solicitor from 1920 to 1940. He's the one that died because of the train. Then there's Buster Murdaugh, his son, right? And so Buster Murdaugh is Buster's great-grandfather. Not his grandfather, his great-grandfather. His grandfather is Randolph Murdaugh, and he died in 2021, just after the deaths of Maggie and Paul. And there is definitely something very Star Warsy about the Murdaugh family. It's kind of like